Confession number 4, did Jesuit Father Staempfle write Mein Kampf for Hitler? Is George W. Bush the new Jesuit-backed Roman Catholic star? By Greg Zymanski, May 14, 2006. Last updated, Sunday, May 14, 2006, 11:47 and 29 seconds a.m. According to the late Jesuit priest, Father Alberto Rivera, whose job was to infiltrate and destroy Protestant ministries, he was privy to sensitive Vatican briefings and documents, revealing the Jesuit role in backing Hitler. Further, he was told by Cardinal Augustin Bea that Nazi gold was deposited in Vatican accounts in Swiss banks. According to the late Jesuit priest, Father Alberto Rivera, a fellow Jesuit named Father Staempfle wrote Mein Kampf, as the stage was being set for Germany's new Roman Catholic star, Adolf Hitler. The main question today is what priest is writing the script for the Jesuit-backed Roman Catholic star, President George W. Bush? Following the old adage all things change but everything remains the same, a look back into Hitler's rise to power may provide important clues as to whether the Jesuits are also backing Bush. To begin this Sunday's fourth confession on the banks of the truth-filled body of water called Brushy Creek, it must be said that Father Rivera was a rare species, being a former Jesuit priest who decided to speak the truth about the military order disguised as a group of God-loving disciples of Jesus. Most other disillusioned Jesuits like Rivera have remained silent since they know double-crossing the Society of Jesus High Command means sure death, especially if you're someone who knew too much like Father Rivera. In his collection of full-color comic books carried by Chick Publications, entitled Alberto, Double Cross, The Godfathers, and the Force, Rivera tells his story, revealing how the Catholic Church helped start World Wars I and II, as well as revealing the Church's place in Bible prophecy. His story also details how the Church was involved in the start-up of Islam, later turning against the Pope in rebellion, as well as detailing how America's present phony war on terror is basically the Vatican's revenge. When Rivera first went public, Rome became extremely angered and called upon her ecumenical contacts to go on the attack, attacking him like they always do by attacking the messenger. The Vatican, not wanting to publicly discuss the serious charges leveled against the Jesuits and the hierarchy of the Church, decided to discredit him personally, hoping people would then discount his message. The most notable of these personal attacks was an open letter published in Christianity Today, copied and distributed around the world many times since the 1980s. However, after reading this attack, James Houston, who had read enough of history to believe Rivera's charges, came forward in defense of Rivera with a detailed report. Since the Christianity Today letter is still being distributed today, at the bottom of the Sunday confession are the links to the attack on Rivera and Houston's lengthy response. Germany and Hitler. Rivera learned many hidden truths about the Jesuits and the Vatican, but none were more important than the story behind Hitler's rise to power. Sounding strangely similar to what is happening to America, in 1923 Germany was in a downward spiral. The monetary system was teetering on the brink of disaster and the German people were sick and tired of war, similar to the majority of Americans today calling for the end of the Middle East conflict. The German people blamed the Kaiser for the whole thing and had him and his government thrown out of office, writes Rivera in the comic he entitled The Godfathers. The communists were fighting to take over and the new government was very weak. Some men wanted the German people to run their government like they did in France and were attempting to make Germany a republic. The Pope was outraged and with that the republic was doomed to failure. Two things the Vatican despises are Protestantism and democracy. The Jesuits were then called upon to stop this new Weimar Republic. Two men then destroyed it, one was Franz von Papen and the other was Pacelli, who later became Pope Pius XII. Rivera then claims how he read in the secret Vatican how the stage was then set for Germany's new Roman Catholic star, Adolf Hitler, as a Jesuit priest by the name of Father Staempfle actually wrote Mein Kampf, the book being the master plan of the Jesuits for Hitler's takeover of Germany. Another great inquisition was about to begin, said Rivera. Instead of wearing Dominican robes, they were wearing Nazi uniforms. Hitler's brown shirts, called Nazis, backed by the Vatican, used the same tactic as Mussolini, beating and bullying all opposition into submission, including Roman Catholics. Bloody street battles between Roman Catholics who were Nazis and Roman Catholics who were communists took place. The prize being Germany. The symbol for this new inquisition was the swastika, which of course was a Masonic symbol. According to Rivera's research, Hitler was the Vatican's choice, just like Lech Walesa in Poland and the new American neocon regime. With this powerful backing, Hitler was destined to triumph, as his close associates all had one thing in common: they were all Roman Catholics and loyal to the Vatican, and according to Rivera, all had Jewish blood in their veins, including Pacelli, the man who later became Pope Pius XII. When it became known that Pope Pius XI supported Hitler, the Roman Catholic vote swept Hitler into power in 1933. The world now faced a terrible machine called the Third Reich, in which the Vatican became the master. History then forces the same question today: is the Vatican now the master of the strange, fascist regime now controlling the White House, called the neocons? Although Rivera is no longer with us to provide an answer, a statement by the publisher of his books revealed one of his startling predictions, as well as laying groundwork for the present-day conflict in the Middle East, leading to World War III. In 1985, ex-Jesuit Alberto Rivera predicted that the Vatican would eventually apologize for its part in the German Holocaust, the Inquisition, and the slaughter of Jews and Muslims during the Crusades. His prediction was based on secret briefings that he attended while a Jesuit in training. This prediction came true as Pope John Paul II publicly asked forgiveness for the sins of Roman Catholics through the ages. The Pope and several other Vatican leaders conducted a day of pardon mass at St. Peter's Basilica. To the Jews he said, "We are deeply saddened by the behavior of those who in the course of history have caused these children of yours to suffer, and asking your forgiveness we wish to commit ourselves to genuine brotherhood." In reference to the Inquisition, Cardinal Ratzinger, the new pope, confessed, "Even men of the Church, in the name of faith and morals, have sometimes used methods not in keeping with the gospel." The Pope responded, "Have mercy on your sinful children." Some Jewish leaders were unimpressed. Israel's chief rabbi, Meir Lau, said he was deeply frustrated by the Pope's failure to mention the Holocaust by name. Leaders from several Jewish organizations have been pressing the Vatican to open its World War II archives to investigators. They claim that, at best, Vatican leaders and Pope Pius XII remained silent during Hitler's genocide against the Jews and others. Of course, few are willing to present the whole truth, that Roman Catholic leaders, including the Pope, were instrumental in Hitler's rise to power, and that Hitler was simply carrying out persecution against the Jews which the Vatican had fostered for centuries. Another reason for opening the archives is to determine what happened to hundreds of millions of dollars worth of gold stolen by the Nazis from Jews and other conquered nations. Much of it has been traced to Swiss banks who have made a token refund to Holocaust survivors. But Dr. Rivera was told by the head of the Jesuit order, Cardinal Augustin Bea, that a special train flying Vatican flags was allowed through the Allied military lines. The Americans were told it was a mercy train carrying medical supplies. In reality it carried Nazi gold which was deposited in Vatican accounts in Swiss banks in July 1997, a documentary film crew discovered a U.S. government document stating that the pro-Nazi Croatian USTA sent gold coins worth 250 million Swiss francs to the Vatican, which was later used to finance the rat line of fleeing Nazi leaders to sanctuary in Spain and Argentina. The Vatican denies this but still refuses to open its archives. In January of this year, Ukrainian and Jewish concentration camp survivors filed a class action lawsuit in San Francisco, California against the Vatican Bank. The complaint calls for the Vatican Bank, the Franciscan Order and other European banks to give an accounting of the Nazi Ustashi gold and for restitution for the victims and their families. The Roman Catholic institution has steadfastly denied that Dr. Rivera ever was a priest, much less privy to secret Vatican briefings. However, it seems unlikely that it was just a lucky guess when he made these statements 15 years ago. Are Vatican accusations, claiming Rivera is a phony, true? The Canadian Protestant League, not connected with Rivera or his publisher, conducted an investigation. They printed their findings in 1983, 14 years before Rivera's suspicious death. Here is a portion of their report, finding Rivera is exactly what he says he is, a former Jesuit priest who was converted to Christ, and the vicious character assassination attempts made against him only go to prove the veracity of his statements about Rome. Booklets produced in comic form by Chick Publications in cooperation with Dr. Alberto M. R. Rivera, viz., Alberto, Double Cross, The Godfathers, Sabotage, The Big Betrayal, and more recently, The Force, have excited angry responses from the Roman Catholic hierarchy across this continent. The said publications have been called hate propaganda, and demands have been made that they be banned. These are familiar demands, used for generations against those who have dared to expose and oppose the false claims, doctrines, and practices of Roman Catholicism. The books have been described by papal representatives, as well as by those duped by Jesuit propaganda, as absurd, bigoted, a comedy of errors, condemning out of hatred, dangerous to the cause of Christ, disgusting, distortion of truth, evil spirit inspired, false, filthy, hatred, hogwash, lewd, lies, malicious, playing fast and loose with truth, Satan possessed, shameful, spiritual pornography, trash, stupidity, ugly, as well as working for the devil and not Jesus, immoral and indecent. Christian bookstores have been coaxed, awed, and threatened into discontinuing sales of the Crusaders series, and every other piece of material published by Chick, even its gospel tracts. At the head office of the Canadian Protestant League, we have attracted a little more than our share of attention, innuendo, and threat by legal and other means. We only started to handle the material when we became aware of the aggressive campaign to remove it from the scene. 2 of the books were banned from entry into Canada on instructions by a director of Canada Customs and Excise on the grounds of immorality and indecency. We challenged that outrageous action in court and the order was rescinded. Efforts have been made in other areas to deny the use of the post offices to those who continued to send the material through the mails. We were warned that a report to the RCMP was being made against us. We are threatened by the appointment of a study committee, responsible to the Attorney General of Ontario, at the urging of the Office of the RC. Archbishop of Toronto, to determine whether Alberto and Double Cross should be designated as hate literature, and appropriate charges laid. We have been visited by 2 inspectors of Metropolitan Toronto Police, inquiring about our involvement, and speaking of the possibility of action against us. We made no effort to hide any of our activity, but admitted freely that we were selling the items they were asking about. We repeated to them what we had told others: we would welcome a charge being laid against us under the hate propaganda section of Canada's Criminal Code. We believe that when any pressure group can successfully intimidate all Christian booksellers across Canada into refraining to sell certain literature because it is offensive to some, then surely someone ought to be ready to focus attention on such a threat to faith and freedom in this land of ours. We are prepared to take that action. We have been reminded of the possibility of a $6,000 fine or a 2-year prison sentence. We have insisted, if and when this should take place, that no one will pay the fine. Perhaps this will arouse apathetic Canadians, and apathetic Christians. One would expect Roman Catholics, feeling their own institutions were assailed, to rally every effort to offset the most effective, fruitful harvest the said literature is able to report, but the more tragic form of attack from those who glory in the label of evangelical Christians makes sad reading indeed. Christian Reader, Cornerstone, and Our Sunday Visitor, published an article authored by Gary Metz entitled, The Unco Michael Alberto Rivera, a prominent article in Christianity Today. More recently, an effort by Brian Onken in Forward, the official organ of Christian Research Institute, appeared under the title, Alberto, The Truth About His Story. In this study, Dr. Rivera, the converted Jesuit priest, is represented as being a dishonest fraud. Areas are named in the United States wherein Alberto was allegedly being sought for questioning. The articles demand a response from those who are jealous in contending for the faith and to conserve our freedom. Concerned Christians wish to hear answers to several questions. Is Jack Chick a totally irresponsible publisher? Is Alberto Rivera the lying sensationalist he is caricatured as being? Is Alberto truly God's instrument for our day to bring about the longed-for reawakening among duped Roman Catholics, so that they can be truly won to Jesus Christ as Lord, Savior, Mediator, and Advocate, to the Bible as the Word of God, authoritative, free from error, inspired, and reliable to judge all other authorities, and directing people to come out of an organization that is anti-Christian? Why the terrible abuse and attack upon these two brethren? Why has someone not followed up on some of the charges made? Can we not analyze the charges? Can we not forensically analyze the charges made? Will the men and magazines, hailed by many as authoritative in the field of evangelism, allow us to examine their charges? We want to know if they have a case at all. If their charges can be logically and evidentially supported, so that we must see Dr. Rivera as guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, then we must re-examine our own position and alter our stance of supporting Chick and Rivera. Now, what is contained in the expose, coming to us in these articles? Alas, they are being accepted by those who have never taken the trouble to thoughtfully and thoroughly investigate the charges against the brethren. Are these criticisms dependent upon hearsay evidence, rumor, reported information, charges of fraud, usually reliable sources, deception, controversy, disturbance, questioned reliability, untruths, continual lying, defiance, contradictory testimony, and ingenuity in attempts to validate his own story? This is the sort of language of those who sit in judgment upon Dr. Rivera. Can it be that the wish is the parent of the thought? Do these accusers want the stories to be true? These are the questions calling for definitely stated answers, and that is what we are seeking. Examine the charges. These magazines, upon which so many people rely, make statements concerning Dr. Rivera with no presentation of supportive evidence. This is so obvious, it is difficult to assess the writings accusing the man. Now, imagine we are sitting in a court of law and serious charges are laid against Alberto Rivera. The prosecution does its utmost presenting its charges and its testimony supporting those charges. The defense attorney, if he considers that evidence weak, will move that no case has been established, and ask the magistrate to dismiss the charges. Should the judge agree, the accused is released. He is assumed to be innocent. We want to observe the charges, and consider how well those making the charges substantiate them. Should they not be properly supported in the presentations, then we ask that they be dismissed, and that apologies be made to the brethren charged. The Bible tells us as Christians, "Do violence to no man, neither accuse any falsely. Prove all things, hold fast that which is good. Against an elder receive not an accusation, but before 2 or 3 witnesses. In the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses shall every word be established." Did the critics read Alberto's outline of the basic steps followed by the Roman hierarchy to discredit and destroy any who left their ranks? Did they endeavor to expose Romanism's errors and evil practices? Did they insist that Jesuitism is not, by any means, Christian? In his defense against what he describes as slanders leveled by friend and foe alike, Rivera calls attention to unchristian and anti-biblical charges and accusations by the head of the Christian Research Center, which carefully avoids research into the crimes and massacres of the Roman Catholic institution, through the instrumentality of articles appearing in Cornerstone and Christianity Today. An honest, decent person, even a non-Christian, will recognize the validity and credibility of Dr. Rivera as a Roman Catholic priest. Why have these critics consistently attacked Alberto Rivera instead of the doctrines he espouses and proclaims? Mr. Metz says, Alberto says he worked with notable Jesuit spies such as Catherine Coleman and Jim Jones, yet nowhere and at no time has Rivera said he had worked with either one. The critics tell us that the story of Alberto was banned by the Christian Reformed Church, Zondervan Publishers, and the Southern Baptist Sunday School Board, yet failed to admit that many of the congregations associated with these 3 bodies continue to sell the Crusaders comics in question. The critics failed to ask the Roman Catholic hierarchy why they were upset because the articles were true, for because of them thousands of former Roman Catholics had found Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior, and were coming out of Rome's religion. Why else should a priest on an Indian reservation in New Brunswick order a faith missionary to stay off the reserve, if it were not that many young native adults were reading of Alberto through the comics and were coming to Christ? This has been true in Western Canada and in some places in Ontario. Why did not the critics ask the representatives of the Roman Church why these demands they currently make to ban from entry, etc., unless it is for fear of an acceleration of many of their people in this exodus from Rome? Why, specifically, are the mentioned publishers trying to abolish the Alberto series from all of their outlets? Have they been asked? Have they been asked whether the local Roman Church representatives have not appealed for this because they are offensive to them? This was the reason given by the office of the Toronto RC. Archbishop. We are told by the critics, our investigation reveals, Rivera's police record, his investment schemes, his bad check writing, his contradictory testimony, his fabricated education record, and his reported family abuse. Yet the author of these words must have forgotten something. He neglected to quote from any court records, indeed does not mention any single court record location, any dates, any case numbers, and charges filed, whether or not an arrest was made, and the final outcome of the Lavelle charges allegedly made. Reported abuse, newspaper clippings, magazine articles, several article writers, each quoting the others, never must be understood to be valid, factual evidence credible of anything at all. Critical mention is made of a college in Spain for which Rivera, as a Jesuit priest, was authorized to collect funds, when he was not properly authorized to do so. The articles claim that Rivera was never a priest. No mention is made of the name of the college, or the source of the information to support the conclusions. It was officially agreed from Roman Catholic sources that Dr. Rivera had indeed been appointed to act in the collection of funds for 1 month, and surely he would have not been so used without his priestly credentials being checked. We are told that a minister of the Church of God of Prophecy, had experienced embarrassment when Rivera allegedly had written a check on an already closed account. Yet no mention is made of the location of the minister, of the banks concerned, of the locality of the airline desk complaining, whether the writers had ever seen a copy of the check, whether the closed account had previously existed, or to which office of which department the said minister had written a complaint. True, the accusers give us the name of the minister, but nothing else. Charges are made of a history of legal entanglements, court actions, accusations of fraud, warrants issued for arrest, writing of bad checks, yet no specifies regarding complaints, vital details, police records, places, hearings. No results are reported at all. Indeed, inquiries have been made by the Canadian Protestant League of every one of the police jurisdictions mentioned by the accusers, and consistently the response has been, "We have never heard of this man." We hear of alleged inconsistencies, contradictions, impossibly conflicting dates, yet we have never been given the sources of such information, letters, tapes, photocopies, individuals, interviews, etc. Not even a newspaper clipping. We are told, Alberto's claim to have been a Jesuit priest and bishop is denied by Roman Catholic spokesmen. They state the documents he exhibits as proof of this priesthood are little more than form letters giving permission to travel abroad. What else would one expect? Surely we would not expect Roman Catholic officialdom to admit that Alberto Rivera is telling the truth about them or their Jesuitical practices. How naive are we expected to be? Editor's note: the following is a link to the response to Christianity Today's March 13, 1981, attack on Father Alberto Rivera. http://www.chick.com/article/houstonletter.asp. Greg Zymanski. Greg also has his own daily show on the Republic Broadcast Network. Go to www.rbnlive.com. Greg Zymanski is an independent investigative journalist and his articles can be seen at www.lewisnews.com. He also writes for American Free Press and has his own site www.arcticbeacon.com. Listen to my radio broadcast live Monday night at 8 p.m. Pacific Time on Lewis News, returning January 1, 2006 radio http://webs.lewisnews.com/radio/index.htm. Greg is also regular on renzi.com the first Thursday of every month at 9 to 10 p.m. Pacific Time. Source: http://arcticbeacon.com/14-may-2006.html. What made Rivera dangerous to the Jesuits and probably led to his death, was Rivera's sensitive and trusted position within the order to infiltrate Protestant ministries and destroy them. Due to his sensitive work, he was given special Vatican clearance to the secret underground library catacombs where, according to Rivera, the true history of the world remains buried for the chosen few, who have sworn by blood oath, never to reveal the dark and sinister contents. And after reading how the Catholic Church manipulated history in its drive to rule the world, one very fortunate day for mankind he decided to alert the world and place his faith in Christ alone while leaving behind the Jesuits and the Catholic Church. Being released from his vows, Rivera then married, started his own ministry and tried until he died under suspicious circumstances in 1997, to spread the word of truth. For his actions, he instantly became a hated and hunted man by the Church, as he shockingly admitted no Jesuit can leave the order alive, if he knows the real truth and talks about it. And it appears his words rang true with his untimely 1997 death. But before Rivera died, he passed his message on in a very, very unique way, through a series of 4 colorful comic books, geared at reaching the masses by highlighting his important message in a non-traditional manner.